This took place only a few months ago, sometime in early July. My friend was over and had to make a run to Walmart around 9 p.m. It wasn't too late, and although my mother normally wouldn't let me out at that hour, she let us go since I had graduated, and both my friend and I were 18 and 19 respectively. What was supposed to be a quick trip for garbage bags, something that should have taken 5 minutes tops, ended up taking half an hour. We got the garbage bags and walked around for a bit, browsing and talking. During this time, I noticed that my friend was acting kind of weird, but I brushed it off. When we were standing in line ready to check out, my friend leaned in close and said, "Hey, do you see that guy?" I glanced up but didn't know what she was talking about. I still feel really guilty for being too dumb to notice. After checking out, we started walking away. Buying only garbage bags doesn't take a lot of time. As we were leaving, she started to explain that there was some dude who had said hello and was being polite, so she said hi back. We then saw him at the checkout. Both of us, being paranoid, naturally thought something might be up. We got in our car and saw him in the parking lot again. No big deal yet, I suppose. Deciding to play it safe, we waited until he left. It turns out he had a couple of guys with him, and they pulled over on our left, leering at us through the car windows. It was nearly dead silent in the car, but I swear you could hear our hearts beating frantically. Even typing this up, I still get a panic. The car of guys quickly sped over, parking next to us. My friend immediately floored the car, pulling in reverse and speeding out of the parking lot, but the guys followed. We honestly thought we were going to die, whether it be from going 80 miles per hour or by a group of creepy dudes. We quickly sped out of there, making a turn on some random road, and the car of guys stayed behind us the whole time, going as fast as we were. At one point, they ended up passing us and waving before pulling into a church parking lot ahead and turning around to get behind us again. At this point, we were still going 80 in a 35 and getting closer to my house. Neither of us wanted to lead the guys to our homes, so we thought fast. Near my house, there's a little store where you can buy cigarettes, alcohol, and candy. Pretty much a gas station, but without any gas pumps. We hauled ass to the back of the store, parking and moving to head in through the back. One of the workers was outside in the back and approached us. All we had time to say was, "We're being stalked." Luckily, the guy understood exactly and started to go up front. We peeked around the corner and, lo and behold, the group of guys was there around front. My friend and I proceeded to sneak in through the back. In the back, on the left side, is a deli station, and on the right side is where the alcohol is. My friend ducked into the deli station, and I hid out on the right side. There was a female worker in the deli, and my friend signaled for her to be quiet. The female worker pretended we weren't there at all. After a couple of minutes passed, we heard the front door open. I peeked around the corner, and it was one of the guys. I hid out in the back, heart racing, hoping he didn't come back there. Finally, a few more minutes passed, and the guy worker from before came in through the back and told us that the guys were finally gone. He chewed them out. Oddly enough, they flat out admitted to stalking us when the guy worker pretended to be family. They quickly backed off, claiming they were only getting beer. We learned from the female worker that those guys are regulars and always go on about creepy and sexist crap in Spanish, thinking she doesn't understand. My friend and I ended up hanging out for a little bit, just to make sure the guys weren't hanging around on a street corner. We were totally grateful to the guy and girl working there because they were completely understanding and worried about us. I live in a military town, so everyone here is either in the military, like my husband and I, or they're the local backwoods redneck type you find near the Bible Belt. Most of the general population is pretty poor. A lot of homeless, well, there's not really any nice way to put it. Lots of white trash type folk. I live near a Walmart that I usually go shopping at. During the day, it's filled with your usual Walmart shoppers, but at night, it's usually pretty full of weirdos. Some normal people are there, of course, just trying to grab some last-minute groceries or medicine. But some people there just don't have anywhere else to be, or they're high or drunk, and Walmart is open 24/7, so they just come to hang out there like it's a damn arcade or something. Anyway, it was like 11:30 at night, and I realized my daughter was out of formula. I had to make her bottles for the day every morning for daycare, so I had to get the formula before morning. I told my husband I'd be back in a few minutes and drove down the road. In the baby aisle, I grabbed her formula and stopped to look at a cute dress for her. I was looking through the baby clothes when I saw someone out of the corner of my eye and felt the hairs on my arm stand up. I glanced at him and then did a double take. This man was standing there just staring at me. He didn't even seem bothered by the fact that I had noticed him. I did this weird, nervous, fake laugh and said something like, "Oh, these are so cute, huh?" He didn't say anything, just kind of smirked and kept staring. The dude was a few inches taller than me, maybe 5'9", white with long hair, and he looked either homeless or severely down on his luck. He had one hand on the crotch of his pants, kind of nonchalantly, like it just rested there. He was maybe 6 feet away from me. I started to get nervous and felt my palms start sweating. I said something dumb about having a good night and just kind of fast walked away. But in my haste to get away from him, I turned left toward the back of the store. I decided to grab a 12-pack of Coke Zero in addition to the formula, and then decided to get out of there. I hadn't grabbed a cart, so I couldn't really carry much more. On my way back to the front of the store, I heard him shuffling behind me, keeping pace with my speed walking. I got into the 10 items or less line, and he got in the line behind me. He had no items, but pulled a candy bar off the shelf and set it on the counter behind my stuff. At this point, I could smell him, and he stank like body odor and stale beer. I turned my head away from him and tried to move a little closer to the woman in front of me. He moved closer too. Suddenly, I felt something brush against my left butt cheek. I turned towards him and sharply said, "Hey!" He mumbled an apology. Keep in mind, I'm wearing jeans and a baggy t-shirt. Not that it should matter, but I looked like crap is what I'm trying to get at. I turned my back towards the counter, and the cashier started ringing up my 2 items. 2 seconds later, the man pinched my other butt cheek hard. At this point, I turned around and said very loudly, "Hey, stop touching my ass." He turned red and the cashier froze. She asked me if there was a problem, and I replied with, "Yes, this guy just pinched my butt, and I don't know him. He's creeping me out." She looked unsure of what to do and asked him to please step away from me before she called security. He did, wordlessly, and then just stood there glaring daggers at me. I pretended I didn't notice and paid for my things. As soon as she bagged up the stuff, I booked it out of the store. I got maybe 10 steps into the parking lot when I heard the doors open behind me. Panicking, I turned and saw him marching directly towards me. I bolted. My car was 2 lanes away, and I yanked out my keys and unlocked it. When I ran, I could hear him behind me, grunting and panting. I felt adrenaline kick in and tears in my eyes. I ran, swinging the bag and case of soda, flung myself into the driver's seat, and turned the key in the ignition before the door even shut. I threw it into reverse without looking, just as he slammed his body onto the hood of my car and yelled something. I peeled out of the lot at almost 30 miles an hour, and he flew off my hood and into the ground. I jogged the mile home, going well over the limit, breathing hard and feeling like I was going to hyperventilate. When I got home, I still had chills. I raced inside and locked the door. My husband wanted to go find him and beat his ass, his solution for pretty much everything. But I just wanted to shut the windows and crawl into bed. I don't know what makes people do the things they do. Don't they realize how terrifying they come off as? I don't even want to leave my house without mace and a taser. I live in a very populated city, and in approximately a 5-mile radius of my house, there are at least 3 major grocery stores, one of which is a Walmart. Being a 16-year-old girl, I visit Walmart regularly if I need notebooks or something for school, or if I want to browse makeup and things of that sort. I've never been uncomfortable going shopping by myself. I actually enjoy it, and I've never had any bad experiences being on my own until one day a few months back. On this particular Sunday, my parents were working and my little brother was at a baseball game, so I'd been home alone all day. I needed body wash and a new lanyard for school. The school I attend requires we wear IDs around our necks on a lanyard. I think most high schools are doing this now, and it's becoming more common. Anyway, mine broke the Friday before, so that was my main reason for going out. I got to Walmart and parked like I had 100 times before, went in, and went straight ahead to the purse section where the lanyards were. I walked down the aisle, and there was a man looking at wallets hanging on the display. I didn't think much of him. He was probably in his mid-50s, average height and weight, wearing jeans and a brown t-shirt. He just kind of looked like an old grandpa. "Hi there," he said with a big grin. "Hi," I replied with a grin myself. How are you doing today? I'm good. How are you? I said, still browsing for a lanyard. Great. I'm just doing some shopping today. Another big smile. I thought it was weird that he explained he was shopping, since I could clearly see him looking at all the wallets on the racks, and I would have just assumed he was shopping anyway. I decided it was nothing and moved on my way. I found what I needed and made my way over to the body wash. I was in no rush to be anywhere, so I was leisurely walking up and down the aisle, smelling anything that sounded interesting. He walked by the aisle I was in and smiled again. At this point, I was a little bit uneasy. I've always been taught to trust my gut instinct, and something just didn't feel right to me. I had never had a conversation with anyone in this Walmart before, and now it seemed that this man was following me. I texted a friend of mine to tell her that I thought I was being followed and where I was at as a precautionary measure. I decided that maybe it was a coincidence. I mean, maybe he could have needed soap too. So I continued on with my shopping. I went a few aisles up to the face wash, and then when I had what I needed, I walked around the corner where I ran into him for the third time. "Excuse me, young lady, can I tell you something?" "Sure," I said with a quivery smile. "You're very beautiful." "Oh, thank you." I was very uncomfortable at this point. "Are you married?" Mind yourself that I'm only 16 and definitely didn't look old enough to be married. "No," I said, adding a little nervous laugh at the end. "Me either," he said with a grin that turned my heart to ice and made my stomach turn. "Do you have a boyfriend?" Yeah," I stammered as I forced a smile on my face to try and hide my fear. "I didn't have a boyfriend at the time." He began to speak again when a man, probably 17 or 18, standing in the aisle perpendicular to us looking at cologne, walked over and said, "Yeah, she does. She's with me." He gave me the biggest smile and stood super close to me, as if he was the boyfriend I had said yes to having. "Oh, I figured," said the man. He seemed very uncomfortable at the presence of another male. "Well, good luck, you two." And with that, he walked away. I turned towards the man and thanked him for coming to my rescue. He said he could tell by the tone of my voice and the look on my face that something was up and was hoping I would play along with him. He walked me to the checkout to make sure the man didn't follow me out of the store, and I was cautious before turning onto my street since I lived so close to the store. That was the last I saw of either of them. I have no idea what the old man's intentions were, but sometimes you just know in your gut that something is wrong. And that day, I knew something about him was terrifying and sinister. I'm so grateful for the guy who helped me out, but to the old man who was following me in Walmart, let's never meet again.